And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have everybody here on this Monday, December 11th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. But before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, the link is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, actually, also before I get into that, so as you will notice, I am streaming a half hour earlier than I have normally been streaming. We have a lot of changes going on here at the GSMC Sports Network. There's going to be more content, more shows that'll be coming out within the coming weeks, which is really exciting. So with that, we have kind of been, figuring out how we're going to fit in all the shows during the day. So one of the things was the show times for me. So the football podcast going forward is going to be from 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then on Fridays, the GSMC Baseball podcast, at least being hosted by me on Fridays, that'll be actually starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So just want to make you guys aware of that, and that is how things will shape out going forward. So, that's why if you're wondering why, if you are watching, if you're wondering why I'm streaming half hour earlier, that is why. So, So with that, let's get right into what we're going to talk about for today. So we had a lot of crazy games yesterday. I shouldn't say a lot, but we had some crazy games yesterday, which we are going to talk about. We'll start off by talking about the Bills-Chiefs game and the penalty call at the end of the game. That's got the Chiefs all upset, so we'll get into that. Then in the second part of the show, we'll talk about the Cowboys dominating last night's NFC East rematch, defeating the Eagles 33-13, so we'll get into that. In the third part of the show, we'll talk about the Ravens-Rams game, the overtime thriller involving that game. And then we will preview the Monday night games for tonight. So we got two of them. We got the Giants and the Packers, and we have the Titans and the Dolphins. Now, both of those games will be played at the same time, which not a lot of people are happy about. I'm not happy about that either, but that's what they decided to do. So if you got split screens, a way to split screen them, definitely do that, which I will 100% do that as well. So, with that being said, let's get right into the first topic, which is talking about yesterday's Bills-Chiefs game. So, obviously coming into this game, definitely a different feel to it because you have the Chiefs struggling right now. You also have the Bills who are 6-6 and on the outside. Well, coming into the game, the Bills are 6-6 on the outside looking in of the AFC playoff picture. And the Bills were able to pick up the win, winning 20-17. The Bills actually were up 14-0 in this game. The Chiefs opened up the game with an interception. They went 8 plays, 45 yards down the field, and then Mahomes threw a pick. So that kind of stalled their drive. Then the next two drives, the Bills punted, the Chiefs punted. Bills went 6 plays, 53 yards, 3 minutes, 24 seconds of time possession on their next drive. Josh Allen connected with James Cook for a 25-yard touchdown, so that put them up 7-0. Then the Chiefs punted. Bills then went 12 plays, 73 yards, 5.5 minutes of time possession. And Josh Allen, from 6 yards out, scored a rushing touchdown, pretty much dragged the whole pile into the end zone. And the Bills were up 14-0, and you were thinking, yeah, this game might be a blowout. But then in the second quarter, Chiefs punted, and then, of course, Josh Allen throws an interception, which I believe was his 9th straight game with an interception. So then that led to a Chiefs touchdown drive. Jerick McKinnon from 7 yards out scored on 3rd and goal. So that made it 14-7 at the half. Then the Bills opened up the second half with a field goal. They went 10 plays, 62 yards, almost 6.5 minutes of time of possession. Then the Chiefs on their drive went 9 plays, 75 yards, 5 minutes, 8 seconds of time of possession. Mahomes connected with Rashee Rice, who's really come on these last several weeks. He scored a touchdown, so that made it 17-14. Then the Bills punted. Chiefs then fumbled on their possession. Bills didn't do anything with it. In the fourth quarter, the Chiefs went 8 plays, 49 yards, 3 minutes and 15 seconds of time of possession. Harrison Butker kicked a 27-yard field goal to tie it. Both teams then punted. Then the Bills went 12 plays, 48 yards, 5 minutes, 3 seconds of time of possession down the field. Tyler Bass kicked a 39-yard field goal, so that put them up 20-17. And then this is where things got crazy. So the Chiefs turned it over on downs. However, on second down at the Bills' 49, Mahomes threw a pass to Travis Kelce for 25 yards. And Kelce's done this a lot, where he's then lateraled it to another player. And sometimes that's backfired, or almost backfires, because then the player might mishandle it, and it might be a fumble. So here, they did it again, and it worked perfectly. Kadarius Toney catches the ball on the backwards pass, the lateral, and scores the touchdown. And the Chiefs went up 23-20. And the funny thing is, I actually didn't see the end of the game because I was out, and so I saw all of this, on social media and everything, and what my friends were saying in our sports chat, and so what ended up happening was there was an offensive offsides. Kadarius Toney was lined up offsides, and you could clearly see it. You look back at it, his foot's on the blue line. That's a no-no, and they called an offensive offsides. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty sure I've never heard an official say offensive offsides. But that's the right call. I think that they've had – I feel like they've called that before. But, I feel like I've never heard them say offensive offsides. Unless they have, I feel like I've never heard that before. But it's the right call because he is lined up on the line of scrimmage. You could see it. So it was the correct call. And the flag was thrown, you saw it, as the play was being developed. So it's not like it was a late flag or anything. It was called right away. So that got called back, and the Chiefs, they couldn't do anything with it. And they turned it over on downs, and the Bills ended up winning 20-17. That was a big win for the Bills. To improve to 7-6. You got 7-6 teams now for those wild cards in the AFC, and the Chiefs dropped to 8-5. And Mahomes, that was the most upset I've ever seen him. Throwing his helmet on the ground. I mean, players are holding him back, from the officials. You could see when he goes up to Josh Allen at the end of the game, and talking about the call and how upset he was with that. I mean, Mahomes was just. I've never seen him like that. I don't think anybody has. And no one's really, and you look on social media, not a lot of people are giving him sympathy because, people talk about how the Chiefs get a lot of calls, and he was saying how the call was BS and that, he's never heard that before. Now, I've never heard an official say offensive offsides because when you think offsides, you think that's on the defense, but it's the right call. Unfortunately, it's the right call. So if you really want to blame anybody, you blame Kadarius Toney. I mean, if it wasn't for Kadarius Toney, the Chiefs would have won in Week 1. They definitely would have won in Week 1 because they only lost by a point, and Toney had a lot of drops in that game. This game, same thing. Well, yeah, he did have a drop, but this is for a different reason. I mean, if he's not lining offsides, the Chiefs most likely win this game yesterday. So, you know what? You want to blame the officials. Listen, the officials are bad. They miss a lot of calls. They make calls that shouldn't be called. I mean, and you could talk about, well, do they have some influence on the game? That's up, yeah, I understand that. But that was the right call. Now, I don't like how they make calls in certain spots, but then they don't make calls in other spots. Be consistent. And that's something that I've said, and I think a lot of people are saying the same thing. We just want consistency. And the officials are very inconsistent. And some of these calls impact the game. And last year's Super Bowl, James Bradbury gets called for holding against Juju Smith-Schuster. That sets the Chiefs up to kick a field goal, and the Eagles have less time to get down the field to kick their tying field goal. They weren't able to do that. If they had more time, maybe they tie the game, that Super Bowl goes into overtime, and then who knows what happens. And that was with the Chiefs. I mean, let's look at last week. The Chiefs didn't get the call with Valdez-Scantling against the Packers. They could have called defensive pass interference on that. They didn't do it. So it's rough, and I think this comes down to just Mahomes being upset over how the Chiefs have been playing, as opposed to like all that rage is going towards the officials. I think it's just because the Chiefs are not playing well right now. They're 8-5. They're most likely going to have to play road playoff games this year, which we have not seen in quite some time. So I think it boils down to that, as opposed to Mahomes just is that angry over the officials. Now, he's definitely angry, but I think it's also just all the buildup. I mean, you're also seeing on the sidelines, they showed Chris Jones yelling at a coach, and the coach threw the tablet down. I mean, it's everywhere. This team is struggling right now. Now, I've said over the course of the season, I'm not worried about the Chiefs, because I said I know they'll figure it out. But yeah, right now it doesn't really seem like they're figuring it out. The receivers. Listen, the receivers have a lot to do with what their record is right now. Valdez-Scantling catches that pass against the Eagles. The Chiefs probably win that game. If Kadarius Toney doesn't drop the ball in week 1 and, if he's not lining up offsides, the Chiefs have 3 more wins. And right now they're the 1 seed. But that's not the case. And that just shows how by that little, how different the Chiefs season would be right now. If you catch the passes you're supposed to catch, if you line up where you're supposed to line up behind the line of scrimmage, you got a few more wins. And I love how everybody's saying, "Oh, the Chiefs missed Tyreek Hill. He's the one that made Mahomes." Like, you're seeing some of those on social media, and it's like they won the Super Bowl last year without him. Now they don't have Juju Smith-Schuster, and I feel like Juju Smith-Schuster's probably saying to himself, "I wish I would have stayed in Kansas City instead of going to the Patriots, because the Patriots are awful." Now, they did win on Thursday, give them credit, but I think Juju would rather be with the Chiefs right now. So, yeah, it's a tough loss for the Chiefs. I mean, I don't know what else to say. For the Bills, I mean, it's a big win for them. I mean, they're tied with a bunch of 7-6 teams now. So, and their schedule is tough. They got the Cowboys next week at home. However, they might have an easier game, in a couple weeks when they play the Chargers in LA, because Justin Herbert got hurt and broke an index finger. So he might. Brandon Staley was saying he doesn't know if he's going to play the rest of the year. So the Bills could win that game. You play the Patriots at home, and then you play the Dolphins in Miami, which could decide if you make the playoffs or not. So they got some tough games left on their schedule, but we'll see. We'll see. And listen, the Bills get in as a 6 or 7 seed. Nobody's going to want to play them. Nobody. But again, Josh Allen, you got to stop turning the ball over. But that's going to happen. So with that, we're going to take our first break of the show. Then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Cowboys and their dominating performance over the Eagles, winning 33-13. So we'll get into that when we come back from our first break. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.